So, hello there, people. Interesting day in Melton Mowbray. As usual, the market traders seem to think they have a monopoly on the public space. I've been asked not to write poetry here by the guy who works on this stall here, because apparently chalk on a pavement is presenting some kind of physical barrier. Additionally to this, there's a lady over here who's currently calling the police. She's on the phone to the police there, and she's trying to suggest that she's tried to de-escalate it, but what she's really done is she's just requested I move on, and she's tried to claim that somehow she owns the public space, which of course she doesn't. You know, it's one of those things. Busking at present in the UK is an unregulated activity. There's nothing saying I can't busk in the public space, but it's like I say.
That man there is calling you a nutter and calling you a mental health issue. Can I please go? I need a piss.
That's okay, you go on. Have a good day. So, yeah, it's one of those things. On top of this, we've got mental health discrimination over here, you know, because it's one of those things, you know, it's someone's a bit off their chakras, shall we say, maybe not vibrating as some of these neurotypical folk do, but now it becomes a point of discrimination, doesn't it, you know? And do we start teasing people because they struggle with some things? I don't know. I've got my problems, everyone's got their problems, but we'll see how this one develops, and no doubt the police will be here soon, and we'll see what happens once they arrive. But the lady over there, she's, what can we say, typical of the kind of middle class, up her own arse kind of individual who thinks she has a monopoly on the public space, and unfortunately, well, she doesn't, does she? What do we do? You know, it's the usual middle class snobbery from the kind of people who think they have a right to stop a poet, could be a musician, could be a painter, but a poet in this instance making his own living. But more on that in a little bit. We will see what we can see when we can see it. To let you know, I am filming, but I'm not filming your face.
Okay, mate. There is another car coming down.
Oh no, that's okay. This all started basically because this guy, he says he was polite to begin with. You can talk to him in a sec. I'll talk to him first. You can talk to him in a bit. You can talk to him in a bit.
There's another car coming down in a minute, mate. Go on.
So I'm writing my poetry here.
Oh, no, she was being very rude towards him. I
Just
say
she.
that. The woman, where is she?
In the greeny, khaki kind of coloured coat with the stripy t-shirt.
Yeah, she was being quite rude towards him, being quite aggressive. What else did she do?
Well, that was pretty much it, really. She came along and she tried to tell me that she owns this space
And she also started
and I need her permission to do this. But as you know, busking is an unregulated activity. I've told her, sorry, I'm not moving, but then she said, well, I'm going to call the police, and I told her that she'd just be wasting her time. But she's called her anyway, and as far as I'm concerned, it's the usual thing. I get it occasionally for some reason in this town when I'm working on this market. The market traders take umbrage, but you know what it's like on a Tuesday. It gets limited for space, and I'm not in anyone's way here. You know, I'm in front of them, but it's not like...
Coming down a different day wouldn't be an option for you.
It's Tuesday. I'm here because it's Tuesday. It's market day.
No, me and him have spoken several times. It's quite good poetry. I say quite good. I'm not an expert, so that's an unqualified opinion.
No worries. So yeah, that's what we're seeing as we're seeing it so far. The policeman's off to talk to the lady concerned, and I don't know, it's one of those things, you know, it's all going to blow over. She's going to wander off, bit umbrage, tail between her legs, and I'm just going to get on with it as I get on with these things. So I don't know, he may or may not be back in a minute to explain what it is that's actually happened here. But Yes. Yes. Never a dull day in the life of a poet. Hello, just to let you know, I am filming, but I'm trying not to get your face for your own protection,
No,
but I'm
This
filming
camera's
for
on
my
as
own
well.
protection.
Yeah. So what's been going on?
Yeah, no
What's your name?
worries.
Daniel?
Yes.
What's been going on?
Basically, the issue is I've been writing poetry here,
Okay.
and I do this all the time around here. I'm well known for doing this
Yeah.
around here. Today, this guy, he was calm, but he was very rude at
Right.
the same time,
Okay.
and he said to me he'd appreciate it if next week I didn't work on this spot. The problem I have is the empty space there where those people have stood.
Yeah.
Ordinarily that's empty. There was a burger van there,
Okay.
it disappeared, but there was a coffee man there today,
Yeah.
so I couldn't work there.
Right.
This was the only available piece of space. So I'm not in anyone's way, it's chalk on the floor, it's washable, it doesn't present a physical barrier.
Yeah.
People can walk round. If they really want to get to that stall, my presence isn't going to stop
Okay.
people.
Were you involved in this as well?
No, I was by the side of him earlier. I didn't know it went on.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. But
Somebody didn't like
in any event, the guy who runs this stall,
Yeah.
he's requested that I don't work there next week.
Okay.
And I explained to him initially, as politely as he explained to me, that he's got no
is the
right to
mail
make
still
that
here?
request. Say again?
Is the male still here?
He's there, the older fella of the two.
Yeah.
Can you stop filming me, mate?
It's a public space, mate.
Right.
It's a public space. There's no
engage,
law
just don't
against it.
engage. Can you just wait and I'll speak to you?
But in any event, it was him. He's asked me to not be here next week, and he
Yeah.
basically said if I am here next week, there's going to be a problem. I
Right.
take that as a threat
Yeah.
at
no, I
that point.
understand
What he then did is he complained to the lady in the mustard coloured coat and the stripy t-shirt over there who's talking to your colleague. And she tried telling me that she owns this land and that I'm not allowed to be here. I explained to her that it's a publicly accessible space. It's not an enclosed
Yeah.
private space in that context. So I've told her politely that I would not be moving on. Then she threatened me with yourselves.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things, isn't it? I told her
Okay.
she's welcome to call you, but she's just wasting your time because there's no law breaking here, and busking, as you no doubt know, is an unregulated activity. So yeah, she just called you, and as far as I'm concerned, it's just wasting people's time. Like they don't have to complain
Yeah.
to begin with. As I said to her, I've done this all over the UK and Europe.
Yeah.
The only place where busking is a regulated activity in the UK is in London. And that's because of the London Local Authorities Act, but that doesn't apply in this instance because we're not
And
in
you're here
London.
quite regularly then?
Yes,
Yeah, usually without trouble.
yes. A lot of people in the local area like my poetry. I've moved a lot of books in this area, and it's Tuesday, it's market day, you know, people are going to come out and do their thing. It's just a bit unfortunate, really, because the nature of what I do, I require the pavement space. I'm not a musician. I can't just sit like I can't just stand there on a tiny bit of pavement and take up no space. But I make an effort not to get in people's way. I always leave space to move around my poetry.
What sort of time
And
did you
you
get
can,
here?
I was here at 12:30, so I wasn't even here during the busiest part of the day.
Yeah.
Because the busiest part of the day, even though there's more footfall, which is good for me,
Yeah.
the nature of this street is, you've seen it on market day, there's no space with all the
And for the past
footfall.
couple of hours, it's sort of gone without problem.
It's gone
only
without
been in the
problem.
last
It,
half an
it's only since this guy here requested I don't be here next week, and I don't know, I could request that he's not here next week, because if I'm in his way,
hour. Yeah.
then maybe he's in my way, you know, and I don't know, it's one of those things, isn't it? You know, you can't please all the people all the time,
No,
unfortunately.
it's a difficult one. As you say, usually you're here without problem.
For some reason, if I have a problem here, it's only ever on the market day.
Okay.
He's normally, to be fair to him,
Yeah.
he's normally quite polite, you know, like we'll exchange a few polite words,
Okay,
as
so
it
just
were,
seems to be
you know.
today.
It just seems
It's
to
not
be
really gone
today.
down
Like
very
whether
well.
he's, what occasionally happens is when I'm working, if someone's having a bad day,
Yeah.
they get it in their head that I'm responsible for them having a bad day. And the reality is, cost of living crisis, everyone's having a bad day these days. I'm having a bad day, he's having a bad day, the fruit and veg sellers are having a bad day. They've got loads of vegetables left, they've not sold them all. Everyone's having a bad day. It's the nature of the environment.
Do you tend to pick out a key spot, or is it just wherever you can kind of
For me, it all comes down to the pavement.
Okay.
So, like this pavement down here, that's not very good for me because it's very it's even, but it's very rough.
Okay.
And I'd go through too much chalk, and there's sort of, it's not good for writing on. That stone down there, it's like my favourite kind
Sorry
of
to stop
stone.
you, I just need to take this.
That's okay.
Oh, you bought it already?
Well, as you can see, this is all quite entertaining, for me at least. Their time is being wasted, but it was a dull day until this point. And I don't know. I don't know. It hasn't helped people poking fun at mental health issues, which are a very real thing in this day and age. People struggle with all sorts of things. I'm no exception. But like it doesn't help when people are poking fun at those things as well. So it's what it is. Just so you know, mate, that's my hand there. There we go.
Thank you.
I'm just helping the traffic get past it. It seems part of the poet's job sometimes is I don't know, just helping the traffic find their way past. Or giving directions, or talking to lonely people. Seems we're not just poets. It's much the same for the musicians, but you can see how squeezed it actually gets down here. I'm just going to help someone else. Just so you know, mate, you're clear on your side of my hand. I'll move this back for you, make it easier. There you go. Just keep your eye on me, you won't get anything else. Oh, too much, mate. Turn that way. There we go. Oh, watch out, I'll move that for you. Yes, so it's never a dull day for the poet. That is literally the moral of this story. But I think I've got space here for one more poem. It's one of those things, isn't it? You know, it's one of those things. Like if they're having a bad day, what I notice when I travel around, if someone else is having a bad day, they want to blame someone. And rather than just say, you know what, it's the environment, people aren't spending as much money anymore, they try and blame me, because as they see it, they have to pay to be here, but I don't have to pay to be here. And it's one of those things, as a busker, street entertainer, you don't have to pay. It's an unregulated, unlicensed activity.
Yeah, the only thing is, he'll just go host line, he'll go to his house, wherever you live in the woods, so...
And that's the thing. He lives a much more comfortable life than I do. I give up a lot and I sacrifice a lot to be here, to be able to write my poetry. I don't live in a house. I don't have a family. I have absolutely no stability in my life, and this is pure commitment to the art form. Like, I've been here all day, I've not even made a fiver. You know, I'm not stealing his living. If someone stood here reading my poetry, well, it's not even the same as what he's doing. You know? Oh yeah, someone here. You might want to move so you can get past. Yeah, but oh no, there's another van down there. It's one of those things, like as I say, I'm going to write one more poem.
Yeah.
and then I'll be moving off anyway because it's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's one of those things. I'm not going to argue with people, but if people choose to argue with me,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I'm not going to sit there and take it,
No.
you know, and I don't
Yeah, but
have
sometimes
to.
the best thing is to remove yourself from the situation, isn't it? And in terms of saying offensive things to people,
Well,
it's not necessary.
I
is
don't
it?
think I've said anything that's offensive. I've told people what I think of them,
Yeah.
and that's my right to say that, you know. It's if they're saying things that are offending me,
Yeah.
you know, like the thing with offence is it's one of those things that's largely open to interpretation.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like he's been quite rude to me. You know, he's done it in a passive aggressive way. You know, but it's still a form of aggression. And why pick on me? You know, like I end up feeling singled out and bullied because I'm the odd one out here. You know, and because they feel that they somehow have more right to the public space because
Yeah, well,
they're
it's
working in
public,
it.
isn't it? So
And
no one has more right than somebody else. But sometimes it is just best if, rather than engaging in that confrontation, try and ignore
And
it.
it
Carry
was
on,
one of
like,
those
you're
things,
here
you know,
to
I
do
said
poetry.
politely enough to begin with that I wouldn't be moving on.
Yeah.
And I'd be back next week if
Yeah.
I'm in the area next week. I'll be back next week, you know, but
And you say
then they
start-
choose to get abusive with me and start making threats as
Yeah.
if to imply that they're going to do something if I'm back next week,
Yeah.
you know,
And do you
and
respond to that? Do you
I
remember
just
what you
told
said?
him straight up, no, I'm going to be here next week, you know, and it's one of those things. So and he started getting angry and raised his voice, and I may have raised my voice, but there's not a law against raising your voice if you're
Yeah.
upset and
Well,
someone's shouting
When
at
you're
you.
in a public area, if there's other people that are offended and scared about your behaviour, then that is an
No
offence.
one has any reason to be offended or scared
If
by
you're-
my behaviour.
I'm just saying it could be interpreted that way. If you're raising your voice and making threats, that's how it can be interpreted, okay? So just for future, just letting you know.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, that can happen. And in terms of the weeks going forward, do you think that you can come back here without any issues?
Yeah, like I say, I rarely have issues in Melton. If I have an issue in Melton,
Yeah.
it's usually on a Tuesday with one of the market traders. There's never been an issue with this guy before,
Yeah.
to be fair. It's only today, and I don't know why he's chosen today. Like it's. I personally think he's having a bad day. He's looked at me doing my thing and decided to blame the fact I'm here. He reckons people aren't going to go to his stall because I'm here, and that's just rubbish. You know, if someone wants to buy one of his antiques, they're going to buy one of his antiques,
Yeah.
whether I'm here or not.
Well, like you said, I think two options now: pack it down or finish your poem.
I'm going
and
to
just
do
don't
one
engage
more,
with
but then I'll
anybody
be
else,
off
right?
anyway because I've got things to do. And I'm not going to argue with them,
Yeah.
but I'd request that you please ask them the same thing. It's polite enough. Please. No, he wasn't. He was passive aggressive.
We can hear the lies.
He was passive aggressive. He was passive aggressive. You know, this
I
guy.
think from this point forward, don't need to focus on that, do we? If you want to crack on and do your last poem,
Well, that's quite right. Like, I'm going to carry on doing my thing, but please ask them the same. It goes both ways. So yeah, what do we do? Unfortunately, as a poet, you know, these things happen. But in any event, until next time, I've got one more poem to do, and then I'm off because it's sort of dying a death out here. It's that time of day. But I will catch you people next time, and yeah, we'll say if you can't keep calm, carry on all the same. You have a good day.